If you could be any mascot, which one would you be?
Wendy's.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Chick-fil-A cow.
What is happening? Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, see, not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
You're like Chick-fil-A cow.
Chick-fil-A.
Wait, Chick-fil-A? Oh yeah. Their
The cow.
mascot is the cow that says "Eat more chicken."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still confused why.
Because they don't want you to eat the
cow.
cow. The cow is advocating you eat chicken.
It is. You know. It is a weird message.
It is a really weird
Yeah.
message.
Like, don't eat me, eat them.
Yeah,
Because it's personifying. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
The cow,
for sure.
right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, wait, then what sign is the chicken holding up? Because
The cow.
I would like to see the chicken side of this, and
Cow
Chick-fil-A has not decided to give us both sides of
Can
that
we get
coin.
a cow
They
fillet?
also never like cartoonify, because they always cartoonify the cow, but they never do it as a chicken. I've never seen Chick-fil-A make a picture of a chicken.
They make it as if it's some sort of protest, as if
I mean, their logo is a chicken.
No, it's not.
no, it
Yeah.
is.
But
it's
Chick-fil-A's logo is a chicken.
no, but it's not a realistic chicken though.
Yeah, it's not a realistic chicken.
The cows in their commercials and their ads, it's sending a it doesn't sit
That's
right.
what this little C is. Oh my
And-
god! Why did I never notice that before?
Amber's mind is blown.
Whoa!
And then
hold
also-
up.
Also,
It's in their
the-
sign.
Amber, we don't have time for this.
I'm sorry.
We know many things go over your head. Okay.
Okay, well, maybe there's some people who are listening who also had no idea that there's a chicken.
No, there's not one person.
If you guys didn't know, then
Now
just
you
leave.
know.
Then no, just leave.
Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe.
Listen, don't
No,
leave because I'm here for you.
It's also weird that their the little plants that they have are landscaped in cow shapes.
What?
Have you seen that before?
I think those are the nice ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Especially around your area, they like take care of those things.
Yeah, that's I don't know what that decision, Shamir. I don't. It's a very.
They should have a
Awesome.
fake one. Why would they maintain that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking.
Okay, here's why I picked it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just making. I picked it because that was the first thing that came to my head. But two, that cow does not belong there, and I feel like that everywhere.
Oh,
I feel like I don't belong.
Tommy.
So-
Why you feel
Because
like that?
because you're a problem. You're problematic, and you don't know what you want.
Shamir's
and you're sending
problematic.
and you're throwing other people under
I'm
the bus
problematic. Yep.
How are
by
you
saying
problematic?
don't eat me.
I'm problematic.
How are you
I'm so
problematic? I want to.
We're relating it to the
But the thing is, you
the
can't
symbolism
relate
of
that.
the Chick-fil-A cow.
But she's
so
What did
literally-
you What did you say, Amber? What was yours? The Wendy girl.
I said the Wendy's girl.
You know what? I like that one.
Yeah,
That's a good one because you look like.
yeah.
her
I
right
look
now.
like her right now, and she's just like I just like how she goes off on Twitter every day.
Wendy's girl spits bars.
Yeah,
Yeah, she has a
Wendy's-
mixtape.
I think it sounded like it was Missy Elliott,
it did.
but you know what?
I like how she
Yeah,
just
she
looks
was-
so innocent, so like nee, and then she's just like a savage.
Well, when was Wendy's like made? It was like 40s, 50s.
I don't know.
She was probably racist.
Is Nia the on the
Ooh,
podcast?
this is true. This
She's
is
probably
true.
racist.
But I do like how she was like one of the first ones that I saw on Twitter that was
1969.
whoever was handling the social media account.
Yeah.
They were free to kind of just go
whatever.
and fire shots and play the social media game and not be like corporate about it, which was
Yeah.
really cool.
I actually went to Wendy's a couple times.
And their
because
fries
of
are
that.
bomb.
I'd be like, no.
I don't know if you remember.
Frosties.
I don't know if you remember, but I moaned when I
Yeah.
tried the Frosties at Wendy's. We were just on the subject of moaning for some reason, and Shamir was like, "Yo, go and moan when you get your food." And this guy, I was like having a great conversation with him, and then I tried a Frosty. Like I was in his face. I was just like, "Oh, I've been wanting this so badly," and then I lick it. And I'm like, and he was like,
Yo, don't listen to this podcast around your parents.
"No, listen to it." And
I feel
then
like we
and
get
then
a
do it again.
disclaimer after he said it already.
Yeah.
and then I was like, "This is so good." And he was like, he stopped what he was doing. He's like wiping the counter, and then he stopped, and then I did it again. And then he was like, "Haha, I'm glad you like it, man."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, first time Frosty? He was trying to make it like less awkward. And he
I was
literally
like,
said,
yeah, it's my
"Oh."
first time. No.
He was like, "Oh, first time trying a Frosty?"
Oh my
Like
God.
right after he mowed.
Wait, did we talk about
Okay,
yours, Frost?
Edgar Allan
Oh
Poe.
yeah. Wait.
Do you guys know the reference?
No, but
As
Baltimore.
a mascot?
Yeah. That's what the Ravens mascots are named.
Yeah. I mean, he is from Baltimore.
They're named after Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote The Raven. Baltimore
Oh.
Ravens.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I remember learning that.
There's a non-fun historical one from me, but you learn something new every day.
Well, why? Why'd you choose him?
Yeah. Why'd you choose him?
I was thinking of sports mascots, and I
So
I
then
thought
you
that was
decided
a
to
cool
go
story.
full on Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, it's not the actual like poet; it's the Ravens who are named after, like the Ravens
Well,
mascot.
you didn't say the Ravens. You said Edgar Allan Poe.
I named the because those are their names.
What?
Wait, the Raven's name is Edgar Allan Poe.
No, there's one Edgar, there's one Allen, and there's one Poe,
There's 3 Ravens?
and they're named after.
I thought there was one Raven mascot.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Shamir, you know how like in University of Maryland you guys have that turtle and you guys like give it offerings?
Testudo.
We have an
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe in our courtyard at University of Baltimore, and like during every holiday we like dress him up accordingly. So during like graduation's time we put like a graduation cap and gown on him.
Oh, okay.
And be like,
So it's not as messy as ours.
nowhere near as messy. We just decorate him.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
When originally unveiled, Poe was one of 3 costumed mascots, all Raven brothers named Edgar, Allan, and Poe because the Baltimore Ravens were named after the poem The Raven by Baltimore resident Edgar Allan Poe. It was natural to name their mascots after Poe.
That's fire. I just didn't know there's 3
Yeah.
mascots, different mascots.
They're brothers.
Also, in the context which you said it, you would assume that it's the poet, not 3 different mascot names.
That's what I thought. I was like, why'd you pick a white dude?
Well, see, then I got to explain it, and
Great story.
you know, and since you guys want to be non-educated, pieces of dirt, I wanted to do our podcast listeners a service and educate them a little bit at least. Okay.
And
You're
hopefully they're not sleeping or because after that lesson.
That's
And
my
hopefully they're
Raven.
awake
Wow.
That's my
Great
Raven chant.
Raven.
to listen to Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
I'm Faraz.
My name is Amber.
This is the strangest and greatest podcast in the game. This is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can email us or send us your music at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
Let your cousin know.
And you cannot let your cousin know, but you can let your friends know that we're on all podcasting platforms. So be sure to subscribe, share, like, comment, all of the above. We're also on YouTube, the visual aspect, where we look beautiful, and Amber looks like Wendy.
Wow.
You can see the brown Wendy right over here. And yeah, we're also on all social media. You guys knew that, but we're new on a new platform. Guys, guess what it is?
Oh.
Guess what the platform
Is it Twitter?
is? No,
We've been on Twitter. I know
Amber,
what it
you
is.
dummy.
Oh my gosh.
I know what it is.
What is it?
Amber, Frost, what is it?
We're on Chat Roulette.
No, we're on LinkedIn.
my- No, guys, you guys are so dumb.
Oh.
We're on TikTok.
Oh, so not MySpace?
Oh, that's
TikTok.
that's
No.
way better than I could have guessed.
Wow.
Yes, we're now on TikTok. So we'd like to see you guys all there hyping us up in the comments.
Not us individually,
Follow
but
us.
Strange Flavors Podcast has
Strange-
a TikTok.
Yeah, and it's at Strange Flavors.
Yes, it
So
is.
follow us on there. Yep.
Linked
And we also
below.
have a cool community, a small town we'd like to call Strange
Wow.
Flavors Town.
Love the town.
And they are our executive producers. Bobber Bagel
Wow.
and Cassie's Cupcakes
Wow.
run Strange Flavors Town.
Amazing.
And you can also become a resident at Strange Flavors Town.
We're looking
How,
for a
you may
mayor,
ask?
honestly. Donate
We're looking for a
$100
mayor.
a month on this podcast, and you can be the mayor of Strange Flavors Town.
Yep. A mayor, any new shops, link down below. A small monthly donation helps this podcast become what it is.
Wow.
And get the crazy guests that we've gotten recently because of the Strange Flavors Town.
Wow.
Isn't that right, guys?
Amazing.
That's right.
Not
And we
all
also-
the way accurate. We don't pay our guests, but
I'll have to confirm or deny that.
but it
Yes.
helps us get some clout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does help us get clout, and it helps us, keep this podcast running.
Facts.
Yeah.
And we also have a amazing YouTube channel that goes by the name RwnlPwnl, cultural comedy, and we have an amazing Patreon for it, and you get exclusive content all over the board. We have amazing merch on RwnlPwnl.com.
Yes.
And guys, you may not know about this, but we have a Discord server.
What's a Discord server?
Yo, the Discord server I didn't know about in the beginning. I thought it was just a place for like, oh, you like play video games and chat with each other. But our Discord server is popping.
It's lit.
It's all honestly like insane. There's just like so many communities gathering and stuff. I'm like, yo, what the heck is going on?
All the different tabs for like, you know, the different engagement levels of, first of all, our content, but then also people, you know, making memes out of it, people engaging, playing games with you guys when you Twitch stream and all of that, and then engaging about movies, TV shows. I love going on in there and just being like, yo, I just watched this show or this movie, and then people just being like, yo, I did this too. And it's cool. Like, it's cool to interact with our fans and our community.
Yeah, it's like a text way of doing a podcast, kind of like when you're like, oh, I just watched this movie. People can like give their input and stuff like that. So it's really dope. We also have a tab where you give Strange Flavors podcast ideas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's really dope.
Wow.
We have that. Check that link.
Many
will
other
be
tabs.
down below.
Fun
Many
stuff.
other tabs. So
yeah.
Yep.
So follow us on everything, guys, because we're doing cool stuff and we want you there along with us and we want to interact with you. It's a lot of fun and we love doing it. I'm going to go over the quickest segments of the podcast we've ever had.
Wow.
Okay?
Let's see it.
Whoa.
My first segment is called Annoying Things That My Brother Says.
Okay.
I like this.
Today's Annoying Thing That My Brother Said segment includes me about to walk out of the door, going to get food for myself. Brother texts me, "What you trying to eat?" I said, "Chick-fil-A." He says, "Nah." I said, "Then?" Question mark. He said, "Name some other options." I said, "No, LMAO." The audacity. I am on my way
I like that
to
word.
gather supplies in order to feed myself to gain energy, and this man has the audacity to tell me name other options for me to get while you're on your scavenger hunt out. Ridiculous.
My brother does the same thing.
Ridiculous. Your brother does the same thing?
Yeah. He's like, name other options. I'm like,
Have
what?
have some respect.
I like them. Both of them.
Yo, I want to know from everyone else if this is that's Amber because she's the younger sibling. I want to know how other people's younger siblings like if they would do that, if they have the audacity to say something like that, or are they behaved people?
No, but we
are they
also
civilized
say
people?
things because we know it like incites a reaction. Like I say stuff to my parents.
No. He was like, "Oh, somebody is going out." This is his thinking. I know it. Trust me. Somebody is going out into the wild to gather supplies. Oh, that means that I get to benefit from this.
To be fair,
Hunt.
you benefit from his like supply gathering as well. You mentioned that you wanted sushi. This man brought you a whole platter the other day, just like
Yes.
while we were casual.
Yes,
like, he
but that was
shouldn't ask.
specific. No. If I'm asking him where are you going and he says, "Oh, I'm going to Taco Bell," then that means I have to select something off of the Taco Bell menu.
But he never got
Maybe
anything
at
from the sushi
most,
place.
at most something that's across the street. Also, sushi place next to the gym where he was. Okay, you don't know the context. Don't come at me.
But
This was disrespect
I
at
agree.
the finest level.
If he's asking, right, like where are you trying to eat, and then you give him an option, he's like, no, give
No,
other options.
You don't. No. The thing is, you don't get to say nah.
Yeah.
Give me other.
Agree.
Give me. I'm supposed to wait at the door and be like, "There's sir, your highness. There's Popeyes and there's Taco Bell." And no, I'm on my way.
Okay.
You
Look
have
out for
until
your
now.
brother.
You have now to 5 more minutes until I arrive at my destination to let me know if you want something off of the menu that I'm getting it off of. And period. This segment has ended. It was supposed to be a short segment. There's no debate. It was called
I'm on
Stupid
his
Things That
side.
My Brother Says. Okay, here's my second segment, and this one's gonna be short, and you
Okay.
guys are gonna agree with it, and we're gonna move on. This is a dictatorship, okay? Listen, this is great ideas that never came to fruition.
Okay.
And you'll find out why I said fruition in just a millisecond. Ready? Here we go. Imagine if we all grew fruits on our head, and everybody had their own fruit that they grew. And if you eat somebody else's fruit, it's like an act of love. But the ripeness of your fruit is determined by your energy. If you're a rotten person, you will have a rotten fruit. If you are a positive person, you have good intentions, even if you're poor, your fruit will be vibrant and it'll be juicy and tasty, just like your personality.
Can you sell your fruit?
I don't know about
That's
that.
prostitution.
Because look, if we're all growing fruits on our heads, right? It's like Animal Crossing. Actually, I think I might have gotten this idea from there, but basically when you start off on Animal Crossing, everybody on their island gets a unique fruit. And in order to acquire other fruits, you go to other people's islands. But your fruit is special to you because it's your island's fruit and you grow so much of it. But imagine like everyone has their own fruit. Like Shamir's, like he grows pineapple, and Amber grows like cherries, and I grow like pomegranate or something. And like we're all like, oh my God, it's a pomegranate. Like it's a pomegranate person. And maybe we live like, this is an idea that needs much further dissection, but just remember that I brought this up if it ever becomes like a TV show or something. Okay.
Kids cartoon.
Oh,
maybe a kid's
you know
cartoon.
what? There could be a lot of lessons in a kid cartoon like that.
Like it could be
But,
like
like, only a
Avatar, where there's like
miniseries.
different nations of like different types of fruits and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna continue to think on this, and also come in our Discord, and I want you to come in our Discord and further this idea and give me more ideas to expand
hold
my
on, really
fruit
quickly,
world,
though.
fruit person world. Yes.
If each one of us could grow a fruit, which one would it be?
That's Amber. Amber, you don't get to choose your fruit.
Well, I'm
this
just
is
saying
this
that
is
if
defeating the
think
you don't get
of-
to choose
I'm just thinking.
We chose mascots already.
the
Yeah, I'm
fruit.
just saying-
Now we're choosing fruit.
Yeah, like
This
what
is the
fruit
problem.
do you think you would be? What fruit do you
you're
think
the,
you
no,
would
no,
be?
no. You're the problem with my society already. You don't get to come in and say, what fruit do you... No, you're given a fruit just like you're given a face, just like you're given a body.
I'm not saying you're choosing one. I'm saying which one do you think you would be?
I leave it up to God.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Retweet.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to
You're
answer.
dramatic.
Whatever blessings...
I don't.
whatever blessings have came upon me, I accept wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Okay, well,
Accept yourself.
Accept yourself. Jeez.
I just know myself enough to know which one I'd be. But if you guys don't want to have that level of self-awareness, that's on you.
Yep.
also cool.
And speaking of accepting yourself, no one is accepting Harry Styles dressing up in
No
the
one?
Vogue cover.
Oh,
What did he dress up
I mean,
as?
people are.
I mean, people.
Harry Styles wore a dress on the Vogue cover, and there's some issues.
Harry Styles.
Okay,
And
I
there's
did,
some
I did
acceptance.
did see a tweet, quote tweeting that and saying like, "Oh, this is not masculine.
Yep.
Like,
What do you
like this
think?
is going against."
I mean, not yep. I agree. I'm just saying yep. I saw that tweet.
I mean, like,
do you
bro, he's a rock star, and rock stars get to do what they want, and that's not why you. Is that what you're
He
looking
didn't even
for?
really
and
post it.
no, it's Amber. There's tons of photos. It's an entire
didn't
magazine.
post
No,
it.
I know. I went to
full on
his
skirts
Instagram.
and
And I went to Vogue's Instagram, and they posted the same. Oh, I see
Look,
it. Oh,
I grew
What's
up.
that O? What's that O? Hold on.
I mean,
Come on, Amber.
okay. I'm just thinking out loud. It does invoke like a level of discomfort only because it's feminine, but it's not like clean feminine, which is like just like my personal thing. So it's like, for example, if I typically see people in a dress would be women who are like more clean shaved. So when I'm seeing a man in a dress with chest hair, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, which, you know, might be messed up. It's just, you know, is what it is. That's just the reaction I got immediately. I don't know.
The second I saw Harry Styles on TV, the way that he was behaving, as if like, you know, when he was wearing the Hawaiian shirts and the flower shirts, I was like, yo, this guy is a rock star. And to me, I grew up in a house where we loved and admired Michael Jackson and Prince and Queen. And, you know, further down the line, like I discovered bands like Kiss and all this stuff. This is a personal choice to me. Like I wouldn't do that. Like it's whatever. But these people, their whole thing is like, let me explore and get comfortable in this and break these social norms. And I could care less because, again, rock stars are just, they're different.
Yeah,
they're on a
different.
different level of
I mean,
trying things. They wear lipstick
you
and
said
makeup.
it yourself, like Queen, right? He would the main singer, he would wear dresses in the videos and stuff. And then even like Kurt Cobain, Nirvana lead singer, he did a whole performance concert in a dress. Like people have been doing this dress stuff. Like Young Thug, like 5 years ago, did that. Jaden Smith, you know, people wear dress and stuff like all the time. I don't see what the freak out is about.
I think the
will
question
say,
really
he
is,
did kill
is
the
why
other
does
looks
it?
though. Like he does look good in a skirt randomly.
Better than you?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I don't look good in dresses. He looks better in a dress than I do.
I think the question is figuring out why does it bother you, or what are your feelings towards it. To me, when I look at something like that, I've never really gotten it, right? Like I will hear somebody out and, you know, they're like, oh, I'm exploring and feminine clothing makes me feel this way, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool, good for you. I look at Harry and I see that picture and I'm just like, I accept that I don't get it. And I don't really care. That's not, you know, my cup of tea, but I think Harry Styles is a dope dude. I think that he makes fantastic music and I love his style. And
he could wear whatever, honestly. Like, that's how dope he is with his art. He could wear whatever. It doesn't matter, I think, right? Like, he can wear whatever he wants. He'll look dope in almost anything.
I think that, like, if it matches your style, especially, and then you pass gender normal clothes, then it's even cooler. Like, what is it, Young Thug? Like, I don't know why, but, like, when he wears feminine clothing, it, like, matches his look. I don't know.
I think it's just being comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell he's comfortable in it, which, like, makes, like, you know, him own it a little bit better.
And especially in the hip-hop community, like, they're like, what are you doing, Young Thug?
Yeah.
And, like, you
Even
know, he's
Jaden
just
Smith,
so brave
didn't
enough.
he do that?
Yeah, but he also gets criticized all the time for doing weird stuff.
Nail polish, all that kind of stuff. You know, some guys just do it, and
cool.
it doesn't raise a question to me that like, oh, what's their sexuality or whatever. I'm like whatever about it.
Yeah, I mean, even your brother wears dress. I mean, not for like fun, but for videos.
I was gonna say that.
When you put him in dress.
I mean, that's like that's a different line
Yeah, I know.
because those people aren't doing it to like costume role play and stuff.
Jokes. And
Shamir,
but
low-key,
yeah.
I feel like if you were a teenager right now, like in the TikTok era, that like you would be an e-boy with your nails painted black.
I thought you were gonna say you could see him wearing dresses.
In a dress. That's what I thought that's gonna go. I was like, dang. But
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. It's just like
interesting
at this age too. Like, what are you doing, people? Just calm down.
Yeah.
Like, people are gonna be, if you don't agree with it, don't do it. And
yeah, guys,
whatever.
It's gonna happen.
we have been betrayed.
Oh.
Like us personally.
The Muslim Pro app is selling our data to the U.S. military.
It's a good thing I never downloaded it.
Oh, Amber. Amber.
I had the Azan app.
Okay.
But
I heard that's a better experience.
they did put out a statement on their Instagram that said that they did not, that it's untrue, whatever. But they said that regardless, they're still they decided to terminate our relationships with all data partners, including X Mode, effective immediately. So they were like, it's untrue and incorrect, but they're still like, you know, putting like, you know, because it was such a public outrage. They're like,
do it for the paycheck. You know what's funny? Like one of our friends, Salman Chai Papi, who's been on the podcast, and who we love, he was on Twitter and he was like, at Minder app. Like, did you guys also sell my data? And they replied, they're like, no, we didn't. And he's like, okay, well, change this about your app while you're here. I thought that was really funny.
That's so funny.
I think it's hilarious because, like, everyone's like, you know, everyone has Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They're selling our data, using our data, whatnot. But the thing is, Muslim Pro that we go on to use for prayer times is like selling our data.
Yeah, it is weird because you know, the first thing that kind of crossed my mind too was just like, okay, well, all these other apps sell our data and I'm very vocally Muslim about on all these apps. And if they want to know my demographic and all that, like they have it. They have all the data that they need. So why is it a big deal that another app is doing that and it happens to be Muslim Pro? But it's just like, the thing is, it's just like besti. What besti means is like shame. Like if you're a Muslim app, like what are you doing selling like that's such a weird
that's like a uncle at the mosque community like kissing up to like the white folk
Yeah.
You know,
Or like having a
oh,
Republican governor come there just for the looks.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It's like a Desi uncle or a Muslim uncle at a masjid being like, we need to make sure that none of these kids grow up as terrorists. It's like, what are you trying to do by selling Muslim data to the U.S. military? We do realize that Muslims are not causing any terror in the United States, right? We do realize that, right? Like, we know that they're little white boys that are shooting up schools, right? We know that it's other gangs, and we know that some of them happen to be police, right? We know that Muslims among the U.S. are in higher classes and are contributing to communities in significant ways, and there's been very little cases of actual terror, right? We don't know that. We need to sell
much
data.
Bigger problem with homegrown domestic terrorists than we do from overseas. But I mean, you know what? I honestly think that at this point, if you're worried about you being tracked on social media, just don't have a phone.
Just live
under
in a remote
rock.
place.
Because at this point, like, nobody cares about you. TBH, nobody cares about you. Literally nobody. And if you think that you do, then you have an ego problem, because the government doesn't care about you as an individual. There's too many people in this world.
You want to see some Muslim terror? Send me some beats. You want to see some Muslim terror? I'm about to. You know that my bars are the bomb. Let's do it. and then I'll send them to the FBI myself. Let's do that.
Wow.
And we can get Muslim Pro on, and we can just make Muslim Pro an app where we just have Muslims rapping and singing fire bars, and that'll be plenty of terror caused.
Wow.
Nice job, Muslim Pro.
What were you about to say?
Muslim pear.
I was thinking about the fruits again. They would definitely be pears. No, you just caused a lot of shame to yourself by doing that. And you know, although there's a bunch of apps doing it already, you get the biggest shame.
Yeah, they put out a message like, "We hear you."
Weird.
It's
a good app though.
Mm-hmm.
Amber, you said that COVID is making you feel a million types of ways.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and not one way bad.
No, like, it's like, I'm very obviously bad, overall bad. I mean, there's no way that I feel good, but I'm just saying, like, just when I started being like, you know, settling into the idea of, okay, like, this is gonna be something that we just need, it's like our new way of living, it's the new normal, like, okay, it's just gonna have to be like this for a few years, we just have to learn to live around it. As soon as that started happening and we got comfortable with that, and like our numbers on our, like, in Maryland, I'm speaking to, our numbers when they were at like our lowest, like when we were all quarantining, were around 200 a day, 300 a day, 400 max on our lower days. And now they're at like 2,300 per day, 2,300 new cases per day. And then on top of that, my mom went overseas recently, and when she had left, we were at our lower point. And on her way back, we just skyrocketed, and it just like caused so much tension in our whole family. Like, it just literally flipped our whole world upside down. Like, being like, okay, yes, COVID exists and we have to deal with it. And then when it attacks like people that you know specifically and like close to you, and it's like, so like now it's like so real. I don't know why. It was like before in like March, April, May, it was like this thing that like you might know somebody who knows somebody who has it, like, oh my gosh, corona, and we were scared, got comfortable, okay, cool, it can happen, but people seem to be okay. Boom, we're attacking your whole family now. Like, what? Like, I don't know. I feel like this whole thing is putting me through an emotional roller coaster, and I'm done with it. So Corona, pack your shit up and leave this year, okay? Don't take your ass into 2021.
I'm gonna just say that we have it good.
We do have it good.
We have it real good.
We do have it real good, but I'm still going through an emotional roller coaster with.
Are you talking about you specifically for us?
I feel you. No, I think. Well, me, I can speak on me specifically. I have it real good. I think everyone else, we do have it good, because there's people that have lost their entire way of living, and a lot of people. But I think there's a real conversation also around, Amber, what you're tackling, which is really just the mental health aspect of like what this does to not just people during this moment in time, but also the long-term effects of the trauma that it's going to cause to kids, and the social anxieties and many other things, depression, that are going to skyrocket because of this thing that we have no control over. And it's not going to go away for a very long time.
Yeah. And I was getting comfortable with that, and whatever. It's just weird. Everything's weird. My nephew's learning with the screen. He has no friends. It's just a weird time, okay? And I would think that 9 months into this that I started to become more okay with it, and now everything flipped upside down, and I'm not okay with it at all, okay?
What we can do on our part, and many other people who do have the means and capability, is to make a better situation for yourself, but also those around you. And that's exactly what we try to do on this podcast, that we try to do through our videos and all of that. So, hang in there, everyone. We know it's a really tough time, and reach out if you want to share your stories. If you want to, need somebody to talk to, feel free to email us, chat on our Discord, meet other awesome people. That's why we're trying to grow our community, so that it's not just about us, it's about our communities and people that share similar values and all of that. So with that, I want to continue to give you guys a good show while you're here, to stay entertained, to keep your head in the game, stay strong and motivated. Let's introduce our super inspiring and motivational guest today. So the stranger today is the big time plug talk, okay? He's assisted artists, breakthroughs, he's helped politicians pull off successful campaigns, and he is constantly working to push the bar for South Asian creators and community curators through his brand illMuslims. We refer to him as Guruji because you'll find out you're about to absorb some serious wisdom from his conversation. This was a pleasure to do. It's an honor to have him. Everyone, please give it up for our friend Guruji, aka RUMMI KHAN. The legend. Seriously, no, but like the thing is, like, I was telling someone this, like, I know so many people that we've met through you, and we all basically know the same amount of information about you, which is just like, yeah, we were connected through Rummy. What does he do exactly? Like, who is he? Where does he come from? This mysterious guy who just connects a bunch of people. You're involved in like community things and politics and entertainment, music,
everything.
All this stuff. Well, we'll get into all the specifics of that, but one of the things about you is that you're just very laid back and go with the flow type of person. Where does that mentality come from in the way that you approach, meeting new people?
I mean, I don't know where it originated for me, but the premise is there's things that you can affect and there's things you can't. There's things that will happen regardless, and there's things that you can. Why are you laughing? Because
you're already starting off like you're already zoning. You're already in the zone. How are you gonna be in the zone? Like,
I mean, I stay in the zone. No, so like, no, honestly,
it's dropping gems like.
Yo, I can't even with Shimmer, man. I won't be able to keep a straight face. Not that I need to, but
I'm just trying to tell people like who this guy is, but you're doing a great job at it from the beginning.
I think our cousins back home will say no tension or whatever it is that they prescribe to, but ultimately it's like, there's a certain amount of stuff you can let things bother you, or you just move with the universe, if you will.
Yeah.
I think it's also crazy that you are laid back, because I feel like a person like you is always like, their head's all over the place, they're like really fast paced, but you're just like laid back and you're still controlling these 1,000 different things that you're working on, where you're still so calm. So I think that's
well, you see part of it. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. I guess the way I'd frame it is, if I let the stress get to me as much as it may for other people, I would likely be dead by now. Like, there's no scenario that you make it through. And I'm pretty much, balding and graying out and all of that. So I've got all the other effects of stress, but you gotta try and smile and chill when you can. So the balance
you're just looking wiser by the day. That's how I would say it.
It's working.
Yeah.
Uncles take me seriously now.
I would say that, sometimes people, when they're introduced to somebody, you start off with the sort of titles, and you're like, oh, I do this and this and this. I'm this entrepreneur, and I work for this company, and this and this. But with you, it's like getting the vibe across is more important, because building a trust and knowing that this guy is, here to help in some way and build some sort of connection is important. And we'll get into how we met, but one of the things that stuck out to me on our many adventures together has been, like, whenever we go to a mosque, you said that there's 3 things that you always pray for. Do you remember saying that? And do you remember what those 3 things are?
Remind me of how narrow the list was then, because it's expanded from 3.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I believe one of the things was like something with self-guidance or self...
So it's... I can tell you what it is now.
Okay. I'll tell you if any of those ring a bell again, but I just remember you were so confident in, like, these are the things that I always pray for. Yeah,
wisdom, clarity, discipline, focus, contentment. But I think it was likely wisdom, purpose.
Clarity, and
purpose.
What was it? Purpose. Yeah, like where does that come from? How do you decide that, like, these are the things that I'm going to pray for and continue to pray for?
Man, I think it comes from. I mean, these are important questions to ask, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to answer with concision so that I don't spend 40 minutes answering just your first question.
No, we're just chilling. We'll go wherever you want to go, but I just like I said, I just want to set the vibe.
Pick your poison. It comes from thinking about the question behind the question, right? So it's like there's things that we want, but someone once told me, or I may have read it, but the difference between a fool and a wise man is that one will trade what they want for what they want right now. And so what do you want versus what you want right now? And so ultimately, if everything else, like if today I want $1 million and I have it, what do I want then? And so I try to ask for the thing that I'd want if I have the things that I think I want.
You know what's crazy?
Hopefully I'll get more along the way,
When I was a kid, I used to pray for, like, I want this whatever, like, dumb thing, right? Money, or like this toy or whatever, right? A skateboard, like something like that. And then the next year, as a kid especially, your desires change so quickly. Yeah. And I was like, man, if my, prayers had come true back then, had came into my life, then I wouldn't have wanted those things. So then when I was a kid, I used to be like, Allah Mia, like, give me whatever you think I would want. Yeah. And it was such like it was such a bizarre sort of way of thinking. But now that I look back at it, it's like, oh, I was aware in a way that I'm not going to want the same things all the time.
Yeah. You incepted your dua. Mm. You were asking Allah to incept the fake flex. I'm like, I might want this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know what I really want, even if I don't know what I really want right now.
Or like what's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we ask for things that, for example, even through my high school years, I thought tattoos were the coolest thing in the world. And I was like, if I have tattoos, this is like probably when I'm like a freshman in high school. I'm like, if I have tattoos, I will need nothing else in life because I will be so cool. Like, I will just look so cool. And then I would like think like, oh, what would I get? And just processing the thought of what I would get, and then that changing so quickly, like that's something that you're going to have on your body for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I'm not even thinking about, like, obviously, as a Muslim, we have certain beliefs and stuff. So I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just in my head is like, if I wanted tattoos, what would I get?
Yeah.
And it would change so rapidly that like, oh my God, if I would have like actually gone through with that, this would have been on me forever. And what if I don't want that? Like forever. And
think about all those people that did that, that now have
many
that
people.
thing that they don't want this on them. I wonder what that conversation is like when you're going to sleep. You're like, man, why did I get this orange on the side of my arm? Like,
I mean, I guess
I don't even like,
it
I don't even like
depends
that
how
team
much you think
anymore.
about it. It all
Yeah.
depends how much you think. Like for a lot of people, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I got this at this age, and I can just get more and stuff. But
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the type of person you are too. For me, I happen to be an extremely picky person, and who changes his mind a lot and is very overly, I guess, in a perfectionist sort of mindset. Where if I got something, I would want to remove it, and then it has to be in a certain layout or something like that. But all that.
So
all
would
that
you get Shimmer or RwnlPwnl tatted?
The logo. The logo.
Just the logo.
Oh.
see,
I already have it actually tatted on.
It's on the chest.
Just pop it over.
See, that's crazy because I also think about there's rappers who will like join a label or something, and then they'll get their label or something tattooed on them somehow, somewhere, and then sometimes things
shelved,
happen
get
where
dropped.
they don't feel the same way anymore. Like they get dropped or they go to a different place or whatever.
Yeah.
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 And then like Lil Wayne has tattoos of Birdman, who's his, manager slash big
Basically
stunner,
his
like
surrogate
his life
father.
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got into it at one point, and like imagine just having this man and everything that he stands by on your body, and I don't know. Just
Yeah, it's a lot.
all of that to say, like, the way that we change our minds and go about life and the things that we ask for. It's just interesting that you kind of will change your du'as according to where you are in your sort of state of being.
I have a
Yeah.
segue. So since we change our minds a lot, you're involved in so many different fields.
Yeah.
Oh,
How do you do that?
I don't view them as
What
different.
are all those fields?
Yeah, what
What are they?
Just like
are
a
these
quick
things?
rundown because it's a lot.
So I don't view them as different. And I guess the reason I don't view them as different is because what problem are you solving for? And if the problem you're solving for is like launching an artist or building a creative platform or getting a candidate elected or changing policy, if that's the problem you're solving for, then they sound like different things, right? But if you're solving for using the tools you have with the time you have to affect change, you're doing the same thing over and over again. You're using the tools you have with the time you have to affect change. And when you start thinking about what are those things that affect change, you'll find that in pop culture and politics, whether it's managing a campaign or a candidate or launching an artist and dropping, a body of work or an EP or a mixtape, you're essentially doing the same thing. So I'll use the musical sort of metaphor for it. Everything you do around music is to pull people in to press play, right? And everything you do for a political campaign is to pull people in to either read your platform or to press play to hear you tell them your platform. And ultimately, the transaction for music is either a stream or a download. It used to be a purchase. And for a campaign, it's a donation, a petition signature, or a vote. And so the threshold of turning someone from a donor to a voter is limited by physical geography. The same way that people that listen to your music all over the world are limited in their ability to attend your concert by a physical geography. And so the acquisition of hearts and minds is really what it is, right? It's how do you get into someone's heart and get them thinking about something in the way that you're trying to catalyze. So for an artist, they might write in a certain way, or they may use A minor, where like most of the hits, what was that study done? Like was a 20-year period where you could basically trace back every like top 10 hit was in A minor or something. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it was something like that where they're playing like very similar chords.
Yeah. So there's things that you find on a macro level work over and over again. So to answer like, you know, where's all the mind changing going on? Like, you know, I view it as just being a dreamweaver. I've got a finite set of resources and a finite amount of time to affect change in this landscape. So who's supportive of it? Who's persuadable? Who's not going to come over and that's a diminishing return? We're not going to mess with that. And what's the most potent return on investment? So whether that's cost per vote or whether that's cost per fan, how do you use a limited or a finite resource for optimized outcome? So
how do you sell that? How do you like say, you know, go to somebody and say that you don't? I'm sure you don't go and say, hey, I'm a dream weaver.
Yeah, no, I say, yeah.
Or do you?
No. I mean, on my Instagram profile, yeah, it says Dreamweaver. But I mean, you get to play a little bit more with elements of what you want to share and don't share. So it depends on who I'm talking to. So these days, the lines between pop culture and politics are being more and more fused, right? If you saw Cardi B's role in the Democratic presidential primary cycle, yeah, like everyone was. Yeah, exactly. Bernie. But then when Biden got nominated or got the nomination, like there was still interactions. She was relevant because of the audience that she has acquired, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with like Ocasio-Cortez, wildly popular amongst young people and came from sort of the Bernie, you know, camp. Mm-hmm. But when she's doing engagements and events, an artist that I used to work with, Mickey Singh, like he's there at the Bernie's back rally performing. And she's like, you know what, her and Bernie are talking to Anik and they're just like, thank you and this and that and engaging because they want to be related and connective to the audience of people that are entertained by Anik. And so then, you know, he did a thing where he's like, if you're from where I'm from, we do this thing where we say you're and people chant back, right? And so AOC did that with him. So he goes, you're, and then she and the crowd were like, you're back. So
yeah, it's like a New York thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she'll get into, it's a New York thing. So she'll get into the policy of like, hey, let's treat people well. Let's make sure that they're covered in healthcare and that we have, you know, the Green New Deal has some leverage. But the same way that Anik came from no one knowing who he was to being able to, you know, tour the world and produce music and launch The Foreign Affair, that's his messaging, right? That's his strategic comms. That's what he's talking about, and it relates to us because we're people, and I'll shout out like, you know, Atif and Homay. We are here, third culture, hyphenated identity. And so we connect to that message because of its ability to relate to us. So I guess ultimately, really what I'm doing is strategy, right? Is how do we connect strategic communications to some degree of execution, whether that's, you know, the buy-in for an event physically or your subscription to my mantra, if you will. Yeah. Another Anik plug.
The pressing play thing makes a lot of sense with that, what you were sharing earlier. How do we get them to press play basically on, you know, whatever the call to action is?
Yeah. You guys do this in your artwork, right? So when you've got a new parody that you've put up, that's your real estate, right? The little square that we're looking at is how I'm picking and choosing which next RwnlPwnl video I'm about to play and why, right? And because of that, some of your videos will have higher streams or higher views, right? And it's just, if I know nothing else about it, and I'll connect it back to politics. If you know nothing else about the candidates in your district, you tend to vote for the name that's more familiar.
True.
Right? Statistically.
Yeah.
So the same thing in music or visuals. If the name and the image seems familiar or relatable or appealing, you're likely going to press play. And then if you like it, yeah, exactly. And then if you like it, you know, you got 30 seconds to figure out if somebody likes it or not. Less than that, typically, now with all of our
That
ADD.
reminds me of AOC and Ilhan Omar playing Among Us, the game, you know, on live on Twitch or whatever, where everyone was watching. And then, you know, you're right. Maybe somebody watches that and is like, oh, I remember them playing this game that
she's
I'm
running
into.
for president. I'll vote for her because she was a Twitch streamer or whatever.
Yeah, because she was chill enough to come and play with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
I remember you started out with, was it Andrew Yang that you were campaigning for?
Yeah, this cycle, yeah.
And then
Yang.
I saw, and then you go to supporting, I guess, who Andrew then plugs, and then ultimately you want Biden to get elected and all of that. What is the process of like campaigning for someone like that and then having to switch candidates?
So with Andrew Yang, first of all, like everyone on that campaign was awesome. They thought about things differently.
If you don't know, by the way, for people that don't know, he's the guy that wanted to give everybody $1,000 a month, right?
Yeah,
That
universal
was
basic
his
income.
universal
Yep.
basic income. That was his main thing that he wanted to push.
Yeah, that's it's a big idea, and it's having its moment now, right? Like now we're
Yeah, for
asking,
sure.
we're saying, hey, everyone should. It's a sensible plan, and he wasn't the first person to come up with it. And that was kind of part of what we were attempting to communicate. Thomas Paine first, and then Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. King, and then Andrew Yang. So it's an interesting trajectory from where it started to who has the baton currently, right? Who's advancing the torch.
All great people to be mentioned by.
Yeah. And so the thing that stood out most was about that campaign and Andrew's message was, and one of the big slogans of the campaign was not left, not right, forward. And so he was talking to people without the sort of resistance of the moniker and the flashy terms and the vocab that we get sucked into and get stuck by, right? So it's limiting to our thought process. So he was talking about interesting ideas, but in a way that was acceptable to folks. So he really mastered the pulling you in to press play. At minimum, you were intrigued to know more about where he stood on something. And I think he did a masterful job of bringing folks into that.
Well, he's this like tech guy, right? So he knows all about how to get people to buy in, right? He was on Silicon Valley. He worked around that area, right?
Yeah, so he did Venture for America. He was a lawyer, and then he did venture, and had a startup, and then didn't do that, and did Venture for America. And the idea, he was always looking for ways to solve macro problems to get people into opportunities that he saw as issues on a macro level. So part of it was, how do we make sure that we get folks from schools, which are what's the question behind the question of school, right? Is what are they intended to do? Well, for a long time, they were intended to provide our skilled labor force. Right? So our curriculums were designed by the companies that needed the skilled labor. And so when the economy shifts and the landscape shifts and you have disruptive industries and disruptive technologies, the curriculum should shift as well. The needs have shifted, right? So what's the purpose behind the schooling and the job and the curriculum? So the question behind that is, are we doing the thing that's smartest by basically just lifting up the hood? So you can call something, that's the fastest car on the road. And it's like, sure, we can all believe it. And it might have that Harvard logo, not dissing anyone that went to Harvard.
Me.
But, mashallah.
Thank you.
But ultimately, it's like, does it make sense for everyone, for everything? So you may be better off going to, University of Maryland or American or whatever it is. It depends on where you're trying to end up in the skilled labor force if you're going to graduate study. Or you could be like a Gary Vee. And it's less about which institution you study from, because you're never planning on working for a large skilled labor employer, right? You're more inclined to create the jobs yourself and think differently and outside of it. So
USA, baby.
Yeah, man. So
Wait,
that's,
it sounds like you're very much into everything that he believed in and stood by. Did you choose to work on his campaign?
Yeah, so I actually originally wasn't planning on getting involved in the presidential campaigns this cycle. I was working on a different project that I was very excited about, and then through some folks I'd worked with on previous campaigns, we
on like
connected.
A local level?
No, so it was in the midterms as managing a congressional campaign.
Okay.
And so one of the companies we were working with there was also working with Yang's campaign, and I didn't know about it at the time, but there was bad weather, my flight got delayed, and I was in DC an extra night, and I was with a buddy of mine, and we decided to stay in a different part of town than the night before, and I recognized an office, and I was like, is that the, and so I called him up, and I was like, hey, I think I'm outside the office. They're like, oh my God, yeah, actually you are.
This is what I'm talking about. This is that Uncle Iroh type of like, go with the flow, you end up there. Like, this is what I mean, guys.
I was like, I'm gonna go check in, and then I'm gonna come say what's up. And I went, and we're talking, and they're like, you wouldn't believe it. I'm working for, I took a race. I said I wouldn't take on another race. A race is like campaign. And I was like, really? So we're catching up and this and that. And as we're talking, I was like, you know what? I think they could really use you, and I think you should really go there. And I was like, cool. I'm not looking for a job at the moment. I'm working on this other thing. And they're like, yeah, that's great. And we're talking whatever. And then in the middle of it, like, she lifts up her phone. She was like, great, they're ready to get on the phone with you. And I was like, who's they? And like, phone why? And she's like, I sent your resume in. And I was like, what? You still have my resume? Like, what?
It sounds like they pulled a you on you.
Right.
They pulled a me on me. And like the next day we were on the phone, and you know, the day following that, there was an interview. And then like 2 days following that, I was in New York. At campaign headquarters, and then what felt like 2 days after that, I was just deployed off where the campaign was. So,
what do you do when you're a campaign manager? What's your role?
So for Andrew Yang, I was not a campaign manager. I was a senior advisor. So, but a manager's role is to what it sounds like, to manage the campaign, and you got different facets within a campaign. So, on the one hand, you want to contact voters. On the other hand, you want to raise the money to afford to be able to contact voters. On the other hand, you want to make sure that you've got the appropriate message so that when you do contact said voters, having spent said money, that you're saying something that means something to them.
I just imagine it's so much different now than it would have been, you know, several years ago, where like you were saying earlier, you know, considering pop culture and where things are headed with everything that's live, everything that's social media, and just all the different ways that we consume information now. It's got to be, I guess, hectic, maybe fun. Yeah. I don't know.
Candidates got to be like social influencers now.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah, for sure. Think about it from the sense of, like, you know, I studied marketing in school, and a viable market is sizable, accessible, and identifiable. And so what makes a group of people sizable, and what makes them accessible, and what makes them identifiable? So the identifiable nature of a market segment is there's a common thread, or common threads, plural, right? Accessibility means that they've convened around that thread, and there's an opportunity to engage them either through forum, a platform, you know, maybe it's a music series. And so now if you want to talk to a bunch of people that have convened around the thread of pop music, you can go to the place that they go to listen to pop music, and that's your access point, right? As long as they care about what you have to say, right? So who are you talking to? What are you saying? Why should they care? And so when you figure that part out, that's what everyone's doing, right? And in my view, and you know, so I was in music for a while, and I felt like, and I'm not knocking music, I think anyone that's doing it, keep doing it, it's dope. But for me, it was, what am I selling? Because I felt like everything is selling. And so I was like, well, we can sell medicine or sell candy.
What do you mean everything is selling?
So if you have an opinion and you have a PhD and you're writing a paper, you're selling the construct of your thought process, right? And,
with some sort of credibility.
With some sort of credibility. So you're saying that I am credible enough, based on the virtues of my past experiences and my cosigns, that this is what I have formulated in terms of thoughts on this topic. And now you're putting it out to the world, and a certain volume of people are going to subscribe to your thoughts and align with them. Some might operationalize it. Some might counter your message or your argument, and you'll engage around it, but then you become a thought leader, right? In other arenas, so I gave the example of like a PhD, but whether it's, you know, in music, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm making this style of music with this type of sonic sound, with this sort of lyrical content, with this sort of visual appeal. My overall brand stands for this. My cadence is this. And this is my unique spin on it. And this is why those people enjoy my version, right? And I won't be the only one they ever enjoy, but they enjoy me within the spectrum of all the other things they enjoy. So where in your cycle in life are you not being sold to?
I'm curious though, like really quickly on the campaigning thing, as somebody who was like following the election closely from the outside, I'm curious what it's like from the inside, because even in Obama's book, he just dropped it, and it's so
Promised
interesting
Land.
how they talk about like how campaigns have so much momentum, everything is so hectic for so long, everything is like super high intensity, and then all at once it kind of just drops. And so
Flatlines,
for me on the outside, I was like, I would get like drained by it almost, especially from the last presidential election. And then when I'm listening to Obama talk about it, he's like, you spend all this time doing it. And he's like, if I win, then I'm going to either be the president or I'm done with politics. And it's like those two completely different levels of either I'm going to do something so far up here or I'm just going to have to like lay really low because it takes so much out of you. So how do you have all the momentum to do it like multiple times? And what is it like for you on the inside when the campaign ends and people are where they are assigned to be?
Yeah, man. Some of us don't stop running. And then others stop forever. So burnout's real. You get through a cycle and you might not. I was originally hesitant to join in this cycle because I was still feeling the effects of the midterms. And then I felt like the best place that I could go. The only reason I started was, with the serendipity of the circumstance, and I ended up at Yang 2020. A, because I felt like I could contribute, but B, because they were thinking differently. Right, so it wasn't the same kind of thing. But to give the quickest view of a campaign, like an inside view of a campaign to an outsider, it would be campaigns are startups designed to spend all their money and get as much points as possible along the way, right? If that's the game. So you're trying to get as much media, as many votes, followers, volunteers, and donations as you can along the way. And so you do you perform in different ways to get that. So how does a startup perform in a competitive landscape? Sometimes you pivot, sometimes you sprint, and some folks are agile enough to maneuver, and others hit a wall and realize that we could get further if we had more bucks. But all we got is a Starbucks. And then they're done.
Going along with that, what do you think the Yang campaign could have improved?
Man, okay, so every campaign could have improved everything, right? No one's ever done it magnificently. I would say that the Obama campaigns would probably reflectively say that we didn't do anything magnificently, and they were among the best executed campaigns in recent history. What Yang stood for, I think he articulated that very well. And the landscape was digital. I think the only thing he could have done differently is know that he's going to do it again because he's ahead of his time. He was ahead of the moment, right? The moment caught up to him like 6 to 8 months later. So he's moving at light speed and the rest of us are catching up because he slowed down. And that's how we caught up to him.
It's
Not
cool
to say
that he
that
still seems to comment on it though on Twitter. Like he's still, as the times move forward, he's like, oh, if we had the universal basic income, this is how it would affect the times now. If we did $2,000 a month, this and that. It's still cool that like we're able to get a perception from him on basically what we ask for from candidates is like, what would you have done? What will you do? Is what I see Andrew and Bernie do often on Twitter, which is like, this is the result of if we were to take this action.
Yeah. They get involved, yeah. I think what he said was like, I reject this version of the simulation, and I'm going to let people know what it is. Yeah.
That's
so I don't know that I would say. I mean, there's like we can get into the weeds on structural nuances and like how certain specific things do or don't operate. But yeah, I mean, that was his first campaign. And
I mean, so much of it has to be like comfortability, right? Like people aren't ready for that drastic of a change. I mean, Bernie seemed like even he was going to be our guy. Like it seemed like everything was in, stone for that to happen. But even that, it was it seemed like it was such a divide on people just marking it as if like, no, like this is socialism fact. We're not doing that. We're not ready for that.
So I'm with this organization. I'm not trying to do like a drop or whatever, but I'm on the board of an organization called the Muslim Caucus of America, and we were in Iowa. I was in Iowa for Andrew.
What
and then
board aren't you on?
Every other board. That's the only board I am on. That's literally the only board I'm on. So after Andrew's campaign, as they were shifting to New Hampshire, I saw an opportunity. There's a sizable amount of Muslims in Iowa, and I like looking at sort of raw numbers and math and all that. And in caucuses, the outcome of a caucus is like majority of who's present, right? So if you've got 7,000 Muslims in Waterloo, Iowa, or between Waterloo and Cedar Falls, that could have sizable impact in their caucuses, right? So if they voted as a block, they could actually make a difference in the outcome of the Iowa caucus. And so me and this other guy were sort of a week apart from each other going to all these masjids. And so I kept learning about this dude because I was going to these masjids trying to figure out, hey, hold on, are you guys in touch with the party and this and that? Like, we can mobilize and blah, blah, blah. And I would introduce who I'm with, and I was trying to get them to support Yang 2020. And they're like, oh, brother, this guy from Bernie, he came last week. You're 1 week late. And I was like, no, not a chance. And so I end up catching up to this dude in Des Moines. And it was in this back room of like an old vibe, like big brass jazz band. There was a guy who like sings like Michael Bublé. And it was really dope. It's called Noche in Des Moines. So if anyone ever goes to Des Moines, go to Noche, tell Maria that Rummy says hello. She'll be happy to have you. So this beautiful jazz club, and it's swanky and all of that. And so there's this meeting taking place there while everyone else is there to enjoy whatever. So I meet this guy at this meeting, and then there's like the subtle pleasantries. I'm like, hey, hello, blah, blah, blah. And then it occurs to us, hold on, I've been hearing about you on the road, going to all these things. And so we joined forces and we developed the first satellite Muslim caucus sites in the Iowa caucuses. So 5 masjids were satellite sites so that Muslims had an opportunity to vote in a more comfortable setting. You have a sizable Somali population, Bosnian population, Arab and South Asian, and African American population, right? In Iowa, no one's really expecting that occurs. So we mobilized that operation, and 41 state delegates came out of those sites collectively. Because of those sites, Bernie Sanders made it out of the Iowa primary, or out of the Iowa caucus. He was very close with Pete Buttigieg, and if we hadn't done this thing that was the first time it was done in history, he wouldn't have had that surge.
Interesting.
That little boost that kept him afloat. And so he stood for the things that Muslims care about so deeply and strongly, explicitly. And so the community stood for him, but because we provided the infrastructure. So what was I doing? Working with what I had, with the resources I had, in the limited time I had, to try to optimize the best outcome. And we didn't know it was going to work. We didn't know if anyone knew how to do it. We just tried to do it. And the Iowa Democratic Party was cooperative, and they welcomed it, and we made it happen. And it resulted in a candidate continuing in the field. So I was then recruited to Team Bernie. The Muslim Caucus endorsed Senator Sanders. We were I think the first Muslim organization to endorse him. And so we were helping mobilize, progressive Muslim communities for the Sanders campaign. Yang had withdrawn. And along the way, they favored that sort of, we are looking at coalitions. We are, the brand or the slogan for the campaign this time around was fighting for somebody you don't know, right? And we were doing that. And so I had the privilege and honor of speaking at the actual results party in Iowa after the caucuses. And, I had like a 3-minute notice. I'm pretty sure I was a fill-in. I'm like, something happened and they needed someone to get up there, and they're like, all right, you ready? And I was like, 4? And they're like, to talk? And I was like, well, I've been talking to a bunch of folks. And they're just like, no, like up there.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and I was like, up where? And they're like, up there. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, when do y'all want me up there? Like 30 minutes or whatever? They're like, 3 minutes. And then the girl that asked me all this walks away. And I'm just like, I'm about to ruin this whole thing because I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I think I saw a clip of that. Maybe you shared.
Oh, you did?
Something.
Okay.
I think you shared something.
I think I shared it on on my Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember watching that. No, but I wouldn't have ever thought that. I would have.
I mean, you always kill the improv.
You prepared for that and we're ready. It seems that you
always kill it with the improv.
When you have, certain values and goals set in mind and something aligns with it. I think with you, Rummy, it's like, you say that all these things aren't that different. I think there is an underlying sort of, besides the problem solving thing, there's an underlying theme of community as well. All the different, whether it be politics, music, or the different, like through illMuslims and all of that you do community driven things. It's always about the people and bringing people together.
Yeah, what drives that is like our faith, like a Muslim, obviously, if it hasn't been clear now, Muslim caucus, all of that, leave a place better than you found it. And I think multiple faiths talk about that. And for me growing up, like we didn't have, a question I had, and the question that sparked us creating illMuslims, and I can talk more about that in a moment, but I'd called Sadaf, my co-founder of illMuslims, who wasn't my co-founder at that time, but I called her, I was like, why? And I was frustrated. And I was like, why does our community not support creative output? And she was like, yeah, that's a valid question, but how do you define community? And I was like, oh, well, and she's like, and she was a teacher at the time, and she was like, well, we've literally just uncovered that this week in science. So community is literally, the definition is divergent populations interacting in a meaningful way. At which point I was like, oh, we don't have that. We don't have, so Ummah is a phantom concept. We don't have community. We're not divergent and meaningful in our interactions. We're homogenous and shallow mostly, and sometimes homogenous and meaningful, pseudo, and then divergent and shallow, and that's most of it. And she's like, well, every community has to have a thread. And I was like, I can't solve that for 1.8 billion people that are Muslim in the world, right? But I could solve it perhaps for the people that I know, the peers that have similar experiences to me. And I grew up all over the States and in small towns. And so we didn't have large community. I didn't have a lot of people my age. So how do you resolve who you are as, I was born in England and moved to the States. So I was like, there I was Paki. Here they didn't know what I was. And I was also a Muslim. And so there's all these different sort of identities floating around in this hyphenated experience. Shout out Atif and Hume again. I think I have to give them like royalties every time I use hyphenated.
Atif was on
now.
our podcast.
Yeah.
So we love him.
Dope.
And, he's one of those guys that...
hyphen too.
Yeah, it's sick. And I've known Atif a long time. And I think it's because we were talking about these things before we created anything in trying to address these things, right?
Yeah.
So there was just, a general group of people that were talking about these ideas. But the community part, right, bringing it back to community, it was, we don't have that. So how do we build it? And so she was like, every community needs a thread. So for me, it was creative output is a good idea. That's a thread. If you subscribe to that, if you can say yes to that, that's the thread. So then when I was in music, it was the same thing. It was like us, we're third culture kids, or we're of different experiences, and it's not just this thing. And same thing in the political world. It was, how do we look at the math differently to incorporate coalitions? How can we do the thing that we wish existed when we were on the outside? And so it's like trying to live that reality out loud. I think that's the...
Along the way, somehow we were blessed to receive a DM from RUMMI KHAN. And this was through an event, an UPNA event in Dallas in summer of 2018, and this is something that was sponsored by illMuslims, I believe.
Yeah.
You put us on a show along Mickey Singh, and I was trying to play it cool.
And actually at first we were sketched out. We were like a week before. We were like, who's this guy DMing us this? We're gonna perform with Mickey Singh. Like, is this true? Is this gonna happen? And even until the minute before we met you, we're like, is this guy actually gonna
is he gonna
have
be
us
here?
perform with Mickey Singh? Is he gonna be here? Is this real?
And I think I was the only one that talked to him till then. So I was telling you guys, like, guys, why would he do that? And I think originally when you DM'd, you said, call this number there's a spot open, like whatever. And I was like, I was like playing video games, I think, next to my brother. I was like, should I call the, he's like, yeah, call it. I was like, all right, call it. And then, we got to talking, and it was like probably like 40 minutes till iftar. It was Ramadan at the time. We had to break our fast, and we ended up talking on the phone for like an hour, and he was just hyping me up, telling me all these stories about, who he's worked with and how, he likes what
Frosty
we're doing.
was like, yeah, but I gotta, it's Rosa time, can I?
Yeah. My parents are upstairs. They have no idea I'm on the phone with you, and like, they're like, means. Come on, we have to go to a iftar, like we had to go somewhere for a dawah, right?
My bad, man.
And no, I was trying to signal my brother, like, go tell him it's something important. But no, it was cool because you were sharing, first of all, when people contact me or us, they don't necessarily know a lot about us or our content. And you already were singing lyrics over the phone and, were very personal. And I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing.
Right.
And even
I was a fan. I was a huge fan.
Yeah, that was crazy to me. But what I'm trying to get at is like, what was your thought process behind not just us, but other people, and you can name some of the people according to your stories that you told us, and all these guys as well. What's the process of finding somebody and being like, you know what, this person needs to be on this stage?
I think first it's this person needs to have an opportunity to, if what they've done with what they've done in front of me, if I'm able to consume this, right? If I found you online or on TV or something and I'm able to consume it and there's something I enjoy about it, this person needs an opportunity to iterate that out further. Right.
Well, are you also thinking of like the community stuff that you just talked about? Like, does this?
Like, do you think people will like it, even though you like it? Like,
yes, and the reason. So, and this is actually interesting. This could be like a whole podcast series on why I think I understand how people like what they like, and it comes from just paying attention to stuff that they aren't saying. Right, like in marketing, you can ask a question, you're not going to get the honest answer, but the behavior will give you a different answer, right? So if you ask someone, hey, do you like this topping, this topping, this topping, and this topping? They'll tell you the topping they think they like the most, but they might actually end up picking the frequency of the third favorite topping ends up being the greatest frequency.
The frequency of the jalapenos is what got me.
No, like the frequency of selecting. So if you've got, you know what I mean? Like the amount of time, long hair don't care. We got to explain it for him. So what it came for me was you were having the right amount of fun with it, but you still had a skill set. Like you could still actually fit a cadence and you weren't forcing corny words into lyrics, right? And so the humor was, humor is the difference between expected reality and reality. And so you created enough of that void to where it was like, I can connect to this, but I can also comfortably show my dad. And
what if we ended up
also
being,
find that void?
What if we ended up being the, like,
Stuck
fake?
up?
Like, like you get in front of people and then it's
so I
all
talked to you for 40 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
Dang.
No, but you know what I mean? Like some people, they
like, what if we couldn't perform or anything?
Well, not even that. Like they leverage culture or an identity in order to use it to attract.
Like what if we didn't actually know, like, to be desi and stuff, but we just used it?
Like,
yeah.
Are you able to gauge that?
Yeah, I think so, and it shows in what you're doing, right? So you had enough material out, and a lot of it was in the questions I asked you, for us, like what's your approach? How are you guys doing this? Why did you start doing it? What does it mean for? And so the answers you gave were revealing, right? And I may not have like the answers pre-worked in my head, like, I'm gonna call this guy today.
I passed the Guru
ask him
vibe
these
check.
6 questions. But yeah, you passed the vibe check, and ultimately it was I saw enough, and the same thing happened with like with other artists that I've worked with or helped launch or so on, right? Like I hear something and I'm like, okay, there's potential. What's the rest?
Who
we
were some of the
connect
people
on
you
deeper
worked with?
levels?
Because I think that's fun for people to.
Fun to go through.
Yeah.
Man, at this point, like who? So I'm really
He's
excited
like, who
about.
haven't I worked with?
No, so I mean, this has been a long time, right? It's like maybe nearly 10 years. So, I started out working for a music marketing company in Chicago, and then the owner of that company was working for this other artist. He was the executive producer for this bigger artist, or became that. And I felt like, hey, if this guy could do this, I could bring our people into the fold, because I love Jay Sean and Rughav and those guys that are out there. And like I'd done some, the promoter thing, and I did some shows and all of that. And I was excited about it, but we could do more. There's something better, and so on. And so I was at a music video shoot, and this guy came through, and he was like, "Oh, we'll see you at these things, and I feel like you could maybe help this guy out that I found, and listen to this." And I heard this song, and it was like sounded like two people. I was like, "Cool." So there's a guy, younger dude, singing in English. He's dope. And then there's an uncle singing in Punjabi, who's also really good. But who are these two guys? I'm more interested in how they met and why they're doing it. And he's like, "No, it's one guy." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, go play it again." He plays it again. He's like, "No, it's one guy." And I was like, "Okay, sure. How old?" And he's like, 19. And I was like, "Where?" And he's like, "Michigan." I was like, "Who?" He's like, "This guy, his name is Mickey Singh." And I was like, "All right, get me in touch. Like, do you know anyone?" He's like, "I know his cousin." And I was like, "Let's talk."
I love how the difference is this young guy and an uncle that's singing in Punjabi.
Yeah, it was. No, so we connected, and there's obviously a lot more detail, and I'm giving like the very skinny version of it. But ultimately,
the
we connected.
version.
Yeah,
the fun version, yeah. And I worked with him through. And look, another thing, and you guys are artists in your own right. So the thing that is, it's a human thing. It's an emotional thing. You go through wanting to do it and maybe not wanting to, right? And knowing how exactly you want to do it, and maybe having doubts about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any artist that's an exception to that. Everyone goes through that. So I had the pleasure of working with, finding. I don't say that I discovered him, because he discovered his talent and started performing and putting it out. So he discovered him.
You were somebody who helped along the way.
Yeah, so I helped
shit.
amplify that. Yeah, and so in the beginning, in that early phase, I was managing, and then worked with him through the mixtape that we put out. And it was like we got limited resources and limited time. Like, what do we do? It's like, well, we can't afford the full-on records and all of that. And so like, let's do a mixtape so we can show your skill set on things that people have heard of. And so then it was also deliberate to use songs that our parents are familiar with and reimagine them. So there's enough connectivity for them to recognize the specialness. Even though the younger generation, very few of them recognized the link, right? But if their parents overheard them playing it, they were like, "What is that? Hold on, that's," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though it's being sung in a different melody. So we did that. Soon after starting working with Mickey, there was, I think my mom was watching like Pakistani TV. And there was this kid, and he was singing Whistle, like a cover to Flo Rida's Whistle. And it was in Punjabi. I was like, "What is this? Who is this guy?" I was like, "Mom, have you seen this guy before? Like, whatever." And she was like, "No, I don't know anything about it."
I love the build-up.
Yeah, so I look him up, and I'm like, "This is crazy. What is this?" And I was like, "Let me just see what his story is. I'm curious. I want to know, right?" I'm thinking like, "Yo, my artist here, like, we should maybe do a song with him if there's enough synergy." And so I hit him up, and I was like, "Yo, I'd love to connect. Want to know about your story," and so on. And so we connect and start, exchanging like ideas, and he tells me who he is and so forth. And then, serendipity or chance or fate or kismet, whatever you want to call it, I had to go to Pakistan for like some family stuff. And it's soon after we started talking, and I was telling my brother is in films, and I was like, "Yo, like, you should come. This is going to be cool. We get to link with dude," and blah, blah, blah. So this guy right now is like the Bieber of Pakistan today. His name's Asim Azhar. And back then he was 16. And on that same trip, we recorded, and my brother shot the video, the A-Team Urdu remix. If you're on YouTube, you can just look up the A-Team Urdu remix. Wow. And imagine me behind the camera guy trying to make sure we don't fall into ditches, that there's no like like shit on the ground, pardon my French.
Yeah, you're guiding him.
Yeah, guiding, but also trying desperately to stay out of the camera because he starts doing these sweeping like when you look at the video, you'll see he's like spinning around.
Yeah.
And I can't move that quickly in sand, so I'm like stumbling over myself trying to stay out of the video. And it ended up being like a big moment for early Asim career. And so that's another guy.
And he's huge now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's magnificently talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the other guy you were gonna say?
There's others, man. There's Anik.
Anik Khan.
Anik Khan. I met Anik through Atif.
Oh.
Nice.
Through Atif. Atif was like, yo, and that was the fun part. So around that time when I was doing the Mickey thing, and even just slightly before that, Atif and I had connected from a mutual friend. So whenever I was in New York, we'd hang out, and if he was coming to Chicago, we'd hang out. And so we were kind of like the only brown guys we knew that weren't in brown things. But we're both very interested in being proud of ourselves and culture and connecting it to the stuff we were working on. So I was working in sort of a mainstream music lens, and he was working in like mainstream fashion, and we weren't doing brown things. And we would have discussions about this and around this. Fun fact, I was late to link with Atif, and he was like, yo, I want to go to this shop in Midtown, let's link. And I was in town, I think it was for like an illy event. And he's like, so I'm going, so you should come with me because, you know, they got like some embroidery and hats and stuff. And I was like, yo, okay, cool. I'm trying to do some of that. And so because he's waiting for me, he, on his phone, was like, you know, standing outside the store, and he was like, yo, have you heard of, and I think it's called Maker, the app. And he was like, yo, have you heard of Maker? And like, I don't know, maybe I'll ask him before you put this in the podcast, because he might be like, yo, fam, why you out in my process? But he shows me this thing, and I was like, yo, that's dope. And he was like, yeah. I was like, when'd you do that? And he's like, literally right here waiting for you, bro. Like, you're late. And I was like, my bad. And I was like, so what's the deal? And he's like, dude, I ordered like 20 of these. What are you about to order? And I was like, oh, you already ordered this? So that's the halal hat.
Oh.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Dang.
Yeah, so I would, you know, maybe I get some kind of credit for being late.
That's crazy.
Whenever you're...
So,
you know, connecting with people, and we've seen you do this with us, but we've seen you do it with other people as well. You're just promoting and sharing people that you're not even necessarily getting something back from right away. Like, I've seen you, you know, pull up pictures of some designer's clothing and show it to somebody, and the designer's not even there. Or like with us, sometimes someone will tell me like, oh yeah, like Rummy was playing me your music in the car.
Like we'll be in public and like, you know, we're kind of like quiet trying to get the scene out, right? And Rummy will be like, hey guys, come here, you got to meet this person. And then he'll be like, yo, these guys make the best parodies, and then you'll sing
like
along
even I don't have like that sort of courage, I guess, to be like, yo, watch my video. My question is like, why do you do that when you know that, you know, there's not something in it for you right there and then? And there's not like a deal. You're not managing all these people. Why do all of that?
for moments like this, right? Like you guys have been doing this a while. You've built a following and a community. You're expressing your art. And for me, it was the frustration of why doesn't our community support creative output? So when I see it, and I see it being done methodically and being done thoughtfully and being executed with skill, there's a lot of folks that are doing or attempting to do things for the wrong reasons, right? Like they're doing it for clout. They're doing it for hype, for follows, to put an exotic rental in their music video. Cause what? Cause we think that you own that whip that you rented for this video. Like, what you know what I mean? Like, but y'all make fun of that. And that's fun, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to see people that are creative and have something to say have the opportunity to say it.
Even if you don't have a hand in it.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't have a creative community unless there's a lot of us. And people talk about like, oh, it's lonely at the top and it's a pyramid scheme and all of that. And I was like, yeah, it's a pyramid scheme. It's lonely for those folks that pyramid scheme you, right? And I'm not trying to have it be a lonely place when we all collectively, like, I'll give this example. you hear about these people that have been really successful in a particular industry, whether it's music or fashion or whatever, or acting, and you hear about them having miraculously known each other. Like, how did this famous person, this magical producer, and this magical, how did they know each other? And it's because it was a culture of success. It was a culture of creativity. And so the community is what makes people successful. Their tribe is why they got there. And so we know them as their individual brand, but it was all of them doing that thing in that moment that got them there. You listen to some interviews like with Joe Budden or Busta Rhymes and, you know, talking about like Biggie and Moments and all these things. They were all a community, right? Whether they were tight or distant or acquaintances or they knew each other, but because they all existed, these things became possible. So I want to see that for people that don't fit into one box. For
So
third
it's not
culture
like
kids.
a personal gain, it's like a cultural gain that you get.
I feel like that's a personal gain in my way, right?
The cultural
It's
gain
like-
is a personal gain.
Yeah, because I want to affect change and leave this place better than I found it.
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, whether this is intentional or not, somebody that we talk about you to a lot is Isak, who is the designer behind Mercy X Mankind.
Mercy.
We've had on the podcast twice before, but you know, like, you're being mentioned in rooms where you're not in that you're not present
true.
in, and you know, like, people remember those things for a long time, and just the sort of authenticity that came across of why does this person want anything to do, like, because it's in a world we live in right now. For us, being from, you know, especially me, I'm from a very small town in Maryland, and finding Shamir and Amber was like, you know, gold.
1 in a
to
million.
me.
Yeah, it was like 1 in a million.
And so
I'm so glad y'all did find each other, because look at what we would have been deprived of if you hadn't.
yeah, but like, the thing is, I'm not used to going out and meeting so many. Like, when we went to Texas, where you brought us out to, that was the first time we performed in front of kids. Actually, we've never performed. We've always performed
Out
in
of
front of college audiences,
Colleges, yeah.
and like friends, and you know,
and
just
also
people.
the craziest thing is too with those colleges, like, usually we're like, hey, we'll perform for you guys for, like, you know, free or like low charge. So they're kind of like used to us, you know, in a lot of these places. And usually our audience, we see like, you know, 100,000 views online and stuff. We don't really see like our audience
Right.
outside
We
of
didn't
our
meet
area.
our like fans.
Yeah.
That was the first time we like met our fans, and it was overwhelming because they were. I don't know if you were. Yeah, I think you were there with us, where they were like chasing us around the hotel.
Yeah, and we didn't even know we had that power. Like,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not used to that. But then also, on top of that, like, when we
Shimmer's like, I didn't know I was a Pied Piper.
we also, like, we didn't realize that when you invited us to come to Miami, that there were other brown creators that were just like, had the same sort of experiences and the level of you know, I guess, creativity, along with managing their academics on that level. And then on top of that, you know, when you go to LA and New York, it was weird because there's a lot of, I guess, fakeness, and there's always people that want things. And so all that to say, like, when we had that experience with you and continue to have these experiences with you, it's almost surprising, because it's like, wait, is there something that we're not seeing here? Like, what is the, you know, are we signing a deal with the devil? Like, what's going on? But we didn't sign anything. And this guy is just a friend, like a friend who just likes our stuff and is sharing our stuff. And we're talking about him right now.
Man, y'all are out here describing me on this podcast like I'm like the brown stan of everyone.
Guruji, bro.
Guruji, you're the Guruji.
It's like, yo, so you find all the brown talent and just stan them? Is that what
No,
this
well,
movie-
you gotta give people their flowers.
Yeah.
And,
well,
and I
also
think,
for us, like, we're used to like people like, hey, you know, we'll do like a performance together. Like, you know, some up there guy will be like, hey, we can do this for you. But usually they want something like in return, right? Or something falls through or something like that. But for you, it was just like, you're the first kind of person that's like up there that believes in us, but it's like genuine, it's natural. And we like really love that and vibe that. And we will always
Thanks,
respect
man.
that.
I love y'all. I think for me, everybody, like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Like, we're always selling, and I felt like when I was in music or in, like, you know, nightlife or whatever, it was more like I was selling candy. It was enjoyable and people like it and they want it, and you have too much of it and you need the dentist, right? Or you need an oral surgeon. And while at the same time, it's like you could sell medicine, it's like things you don't want, and who wants to see the doctor? And it usually means something bad when you're, you know, being prescribed it, you know, except for the opioid crisis, and then people think it's good, but it's still terrible. And so for me, I was looking at it like, well, how do we get folks what they need mixed with what they want, right? How do we merge needs and wants? How do we lace one with the other, if you will? And so there's different ways to do it on various spectrums. So it can be medicine laced with candy or candy laced with medicine. But either way, there's a certain value of goodness that comes from that. So
I'm sorry, this analogy is throwing me off. What is the candy and the medicine?
I categorize things, right? Services, experiences, products, whatever, into those two very broad polar buckets. And so there are things that we want, but too much of what you want, and it tastes good, and it's enjoyable, and it's desirable, and you'll pay for it, right? But too much of it, and you get sick, and then there's the thing that you need. Mm-hmm. But medicine's karwa, it's not the thing you want. It's not enjoyable, but you need it because you got sick, so you had too much of the stuff that you want. And so how do you mix those? How do you find balance? Where's the spectrum between those two polar points? And so how do you do that with culture? How do you do that with community? How do you do that with politics? How do you do that with music? Is it always all or nothing? You know, what's the room in the middle or in between? So for me, it was like, I don't have to gain financially from everything that gives me joy.
Right.
Because I feel like we need it, and somebody that's younger than me or younger than you is going, like, we've succeeded if they've made us obsolete. Right? Because we're doing something, y'all are doing something that folks before you have maybe done in their way, but you've made them obsolete. And so whoever iterates this to the next step, I'm going to be super proud of, right? And if it's not happening, it's like, what am I not doing well enough to where these next guys aren't that much better than me? And I think that's the way I look at it, because that's what we as a collective, that's what we as humanity, that's what we need. We need to be better each generation.
It's also like, it goes without saying, but, you know, with us, for example, we have yet to see that sort of financial return, right? We're truly doing this at this point because it's a passion.
It's coming.
But that's what I mean, right? It's like the endless amount of opportunities, the lifestyle that we've gotten to live, although some, you know, for some people it might be like, that's it. But for most people it would be like, wow, you got to do these things. You got to go to these places. You have this sort of, you know, I don't see us as social influencers, but there is some sort of influence that we are putting out there, whether we like it or not. For that level of experience and opportunity, knowing the people that we've met along the way, you know, ultimately, like you're saying, when there's certain people that end up at the top, if you want to call it that, sometimes they run into each other again. And it's like, I think we have that sort of mutual trust, not just with you, but so many people that even you've connected us with, or people that we've met on our own within this sort of collective, that we see that genuine sort of both talent, but also vision. We know that, like, oh, I'll see this person again, or they're gonna have this path on their own. And you know, if I ever need some sort of service that requires this person, like, I have this trust for them. And maybe that's what is subconsciously there for many of us, that, like, I guess are living that way, that, you know, we don't need anything in return, that we'll just, as we go along, we'll need each other. Yeah. And it'll be a beautiful thing.
And we were created that way, right? Like Allah created, or God, if we've got our non-Muslim cousins listening, created, which, by the way, Allah does not translate to God directly. That's a tangent. We can get into that, but it's the oneness.
Can you put on that topi for this, Imam? I didn't know we were going to get a khutbah on the podcast.
Here's what I'm saying is that ultimately for me, the top goes beyond death. It's for those. That's the top.
Oh, wow.
Right?
He went there.
And so if you're trying to get to the top, who else do you want to see there? Who else do you want to see succeed? And who else do you want to have benefited from understanding, I think every religion got it right to a degree, right? It's the same pizza, different toppings. I'm using that because I just had some pizza.
Basic morals, basic principles.
Yeah, but they're all to a degree correct. And it's beyond a certain point, like the divergence in the road. There's a hyper focus on something in a literal sense that could actually still make sense if you think of it in the abstract, right? Or if you think of it not as literal and maybe more metaphorical and maybe more the context of the language of the day to try to get them. And maybe it was just a reference to something they colloquially understood within society. So for me, the top is for those, but what gets you there? It's like a good heart, right? It's not just, yeah, okay, cool. Your debits and credits can balance at the end of your life. And if your debits are greater than your credits, you might go to the good place. And if your credits are greater than your debits, you might go to the bad place. And if it's net neutral, you might find yourself stuck in the medium place, right? But the good place isn't all good at every level. I mean, it's good, but I'm saying all good in the sense that we were raised where it's like you get a 98 and your parents are like, where are the other 2 points? Right? So it's like you got to seek the highest possible environment of whatever it is that you seek. And so for me, it's what do I want behind the thing that I want? What do I want after I've got what I want? What's the question behind the question? So the top is after death.
This is what he does. This is what he circled it back around.
Circle the whole thing.
I'm telling you, this is what he does. It's been an hour, so I know we promised you that, but I do want to ask you one last thing before we get to the final question. How do you want people, whether they've met you once or known you for your lifetime, to remember you?
You guys, you tell me. I have no idea. I've never actually answered that question.
You?
Yeah. How do you think that I want people to remember me?
Wait. So how do we think that you want people to remember you?
Or how do you think that? Or do you think
how do we think people remember you?
Yeah.
What is it that you think that I want people to remember me with?
Okay.
Just gosh.
To leave this place a better one.
Because
you've said that multiple times throughout this podcast, but that's vague.
So I would want, and I think this is a point that I wanted, one of the questions, right? You had mentioned influencers. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's not about what you can influence, but who you can inspire. And so influence versus inspiration. And so I would want to be remembered for the inspiration.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, you've done that already to us. Just saying.
Yo, so we're gonna get is this episode gonna be sealed with a sneak peek of the next joint? Because
he wants to come back on.
I'm saying no, not me. I'm saying your next song. I know you've had plenty of time in COVID to cook up 1,000 ideas.
Oh, Rummy. We're gonna talk after this. We're gonna talk after this.
Okay. All right.
Okay, but before we do that, we sealed this podcast with one question that we ask at the end with our guests. So Amber, if you want to take that away, let's do it.
Sure. If you could describe yourself as any flavor, what would it be and why?
What do you guys think
flavors.
that I would think my flavor is? Welcome to Strange Flavors.
Wow, how did I not clock that would? Yeah.
Because Rummy, you didn't expect this.
Come on.
If I could be any flavor,
if you could describe yourself as any flavor of anything.
Yeah.
what would it be? But also why? Like, why would you describe
Nah,
yourself as that
I
flavor?
feel like there's probably a legacy of answers that have been given on this that I'm now going to diminish my ranking.
No. Some
No.
people are
Quality of
deep. Some people are very
conversation.
surface level.
Yeah.
Some people suck.
You got
like
this.
some people have had the worst flavors that I was literally like, all right, let's end it because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so there's no bar.
Yeah.
Pomegranate.
Okay.
It's pomegranate season too.
Wow. Why?
Did you know that?
Because it's in season right now. It's complex and it's built of a lot of things. There's a lot of pieces to it.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what?
But it's delicious with every bite.
Even though
That's-
you totally jacked that from me mentioning that it's in season.
Well,
Because
no, he was inspired by your thing, but he took it to
Yeah.
his.
I thought he was
gonna
took it
stop
to his
there.
own twist.
You take the good and leave the bad, you know? Like I'm a man
Anad.
of faith, so Anad.
Rummi
Also,
Anad
I have
Khan.
to shout out my friend Huda Katebi, who started a war on her social media around. Oh no, it was around. Never mind. It was around like the Persian lassi, which I've
Does it
just
have
pulled the war
pomegranate in
into. No, but then the peace offering was she was going to cut Anad, so that's where
Oh, okay. It's such an underrated fruit and such a beautiful fruit.
It is.
I think people just don't know
Yeah.
how to get to it. But you heard it here. Rummi Anad Khan.
Wow.
That is him. I really wish we could just do this for a long time because if you guys ever run into him, I'm sure you will at some point in your life. But he's incredible, and Rummi, truly, like, thank you for being here and,
Thank you.
and for inspiring us
Yeah.
as always and being so kind.
They gotta like, comment, subscribe
Wow.
to Strange
There you go.
Flavors.
Tell people where they can find you if you want to do that, or anything that you're working on that they should check out or anything like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm working with the Muslim Public Affairs Council. So if you're interested in figuring out how like Muslims sort of fit into the general American political landscape, check out MPAC.
We'll
It's
link up whatever you need.
_national. Yeah, MPAC _ national. Check that out. Get an education on where we fit in the world of policy. And we have a Hollywood bureau. So we're influencing how our characters and screenwriters are depicting Muslims in Hollywood and entertainment. So I think MPAC is among the most important organizations we have right now. And if you want something a little bit more zesty, then pull up on @illMuslims.
Yes, do that because that's what put us on as well with that one show. Thank you again, Rummi, aka Guruji. It's been an honor. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.
Nights, yeah. Warm lights, speak less, and I'll take it all for you.